Welcome, brave listener, to tonight's tale of shadows and forgotten lore. Let us step together into a past where mystery and dread intertwine. The Haunting of Greywood Manor. Chapter 1. The Arrival. In the waning days of November 1821, a shroud of mist clung to the countryside surrounding Greywood Manor, like a forgotten dream trapped between the veil of reality and the afterlife. The estate loomed ahead, its stone facade gray and menacing, haunted by shadows and whispers that hung in the air like a heavy fog. Clara Hawthorne, a young governess, arrived on horseback, her heart thumping wildly in her chest as she surveyed the oppressive landscape. The trees, skeletal and stark against the darkening sky, seemed to beckon her closer, their gnarled branches clawing at the air as if to ensnare her spirit. She dismounted and adjusted her cloak, a heavy woolen garment that did little to shield her from the penetrating chill. As she stepped onto the gravel path leading to the manor, she felt a shiver run down her spine, an inexplicable sensation that something, or someone, was watching her. Perhaps it was merely her imagination, but Clara had long learned to trust her instincts. She took a deep breath, steeling herself as she approached the grand entrance, flanked by ornate columns that appeared to sag under the weight of untold secrets. The heavy oak door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit foyer. A maid, no older than Clara herself, stood expectantly, her pale features defined by the flickering light of a single candle. "Welcome to Greywood Manor, Miss Hawthorne. My name is Agnes. I will show you to your quarters." Clara's curiosity flared at the mention of her new home. The manor had a reputation that preceded it. Tales of spectral apparitions and strange occurrences were whispered in the villages surrounding the estate. Yet, for the sake of her younger sister's future, she had taken the position, driven by the promise of a generous salary and the hope of employing her skills in education. "Thank you, Agnes," Clara replied, forcing a smile as she followed the maid through the cavernous halls. The air grew colder as they moved deeper into the manor, the flicker of the candlelight casting grotesque shapes upon the walls. Portraits of the Greywood ancestors hung in grim silence, their dark eyes seeming to follow Clara with judgment. As they climbed the narrow staircase, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of dread tinged with intrigue. Each step echoed through the corridors like a heartbeat, an unsettling reminder of the life that once thrived here. At last, they reached the guest quarters at the end of a long, shadowy hall. "Your room," Agnes said, opening the door to a modest chamber adorned with faded wallpaper and antique furniture. "If you need anything, just call, but I must warn you, the house can be peculiar." "Peculiar?" Clara questioned, feigning bravado. "The spirits," Agnes murmured, glancing over her shoulder as if the very walls had ears. "They linger still. Some say they protect our family, others believe they bring misfortune. You'll hear their whispers in the night." Clara's heart raced, but she brushed it off as mere superstition. "Thank you, Agnes, I appreciate the warning." As the maid left, closing the door behind her, Clara surveyed her new surroundings. The flickering fire in the hearth cast wavering shadows, illuminating a small, ornate mirror above a delicate vanity. She approached it, peering into the glass, hoping to find comfort in her own reflection. Instead, she glimpsed a figure standing just behind her, shrouded in darkness. Clara whirled around, the breath caught in her throat, but there was nothing, only the empty hall, thick with silence. Break. Chapter 2, The Children. Days turned to weeks, and Clara fell into a routine with the two children in her charge, the spirited yet mischievous twins, Theodore and Annabelle. They were bright, eager to learn, but their laughter often echoed through the empty corridors like a haunting refrain, an unsettling reminder of the house's spectral inhabitants. One evening, after a long day of lessons, Clara found herself in the library, poring over dusty tomes in search of a distraction. The flickering candlelight illuminated the titles, their gilded letters eroded by time. As she reached for a book about local folklore, a chill crept through the air, curling around her like icy fingers. She brushed it off as a draft, but the sensation lingered, wrapping her in a thick blanket of unease. Suddenly, she heard soft giggles emanating from the adjoining room. Clara's brow furrowed. The children were not supposed to be playing outside at this hour. She stood and made her way toward the sound, her footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. Creeping closer, she pushed the door open to find the twins sitting cross-legged on the floor. A circle of candles lit around them, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. "What are you doing?" Clara exclaimed, the sharpness of her voice cutting through the eerie atmosphere. Annabelle looked up, her eyes widened in innocent surprise. "We were just playing," she replied, her voice lilting with delight. "Isn't it beautiful?" In the center of the circle lay a tattered book, its pages yellowed and frayed. Clara stepped closer, the overwhelming smell of must and old paper filling her nostrils. "What is it?" she asked, her curiosity piqued despite her better judgment. "It's a book of spells," Theodore declared, excitement dancing in his eyes. "We wanted to summon the spirits of Greywood." Clara's heart sank. "That's not a game, you mustn't." But before she could finish, an unnatural gust of wind exploded through the room, extinguishing the candles in a blink, plunging them into darkness. Clara's heart raced as she fumbled for the door, her mind racing with thoughts of the manor's chilling lore. "A spirit!" Annabelle shrieked, her voice echoing in the blackness. "Stay close!" Clara commanded, grasping the twins' hands as she led them back to the library, the oppressive silence amplifying their quickening breaths. As they huddled together, the weight of the house pressed down upon them, as if it were alive, feeding off their fear. Break. Chapter 3, The Curse. That night, Clara lay awake in her bed, her thoughts consumed by the children's antics and the spectral tales that haunted her mind. Sleep eluded her. The shadows danced across her walls, beckoning her to see what lay beyond. Just as dawn began to break, Clara drifted into a restless slumber, only to be awakened by whispers, a soft, melodic chant that floated through the air like a siren's call. Sitting upright, she strained to listen. The voices were indistinct but hauntingly sweet, luring her from her bed. She slipped into her robe, the fabric heavy against her skin, and followed the sound into the dimly lit corridors. The air was thick with moisture, and a musty odor hung heavy in the air. As she stepped into the main hall, Clara noticed that the front door stood ajar. The whispers grew louder, echoing around her as she crossed the threshold into the cold outdoors. A faint glow emanated from the grove of trees, their branches swaying gently despite the absence of wind. Clara hesitated, a deep sense of foreboding gnawing at her chest as she approached the source of the light. Within the grove, she discovered a clearing, illuminated by a circle of bluish flames. A small gathering of figures shrouded in dark cloaks huddled together, their faces obscured by shadow. The air crackled with energy, a palpable tension that prickled against her skin. "What is happening?" Clara whispered, barely able to contain her fear. A voice rose above the others, chanting a rhythmic incantation that resonated with the very earth itself. The ground trembled, and Clara felt her heart race as she realized that this was no mere gathering of townsfolk. They were performing a ritual, one steeped in the haunting history of Greywood Manor. Suddenly, one of the cloaked figures turned, catching her gaze. Clara gasped, recognizing the face of Agnes, her maid. "You must not be here," Agnes hissed, her voice frantic. "You will bring the curse upon us all." Clara stumbled backward, her heart pounding in her chest as she turned to flee. But the shadows closed in around her. The chanting grew louder, more insistent, as if the very spirits of Greywood were awakening, demanding to be summoned. Break. Chapter 4, The Revelation. Clara awoke the next morning with a start, the rays of dawn filtering through her bedroom window. The events of the night felt like a vivid dream, but the lingering chill in her bones told her otherwise. She dressed quickly, her mind racing with questions, and sought out Agnes. The maid was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of gruel. Clara approached her, breathless. "Agnes, I saw you last night. What were you doing in the woods?" Agnes's eyes went wide, but her expression quickly shifted to one of resignation. "It is not a matter to be discussed, Miss Hawthorne. The rituals are ancient, and if we do not follow them, we risk awakening what is trapped within these walls." "What do you mean?" Clara pressed, her curiosity outweighing her fear. "The spirits here are restless," Agnes explained, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The Greywoods made pacts to protect their legacy, but the cost was steep. A curse lingers over this estate, and only the rituals can keep the darkness at bay. But they must be done properly, or else." Clara's heart raced with a mix of fear and determination. "What can I do to help?" Agnes studied her for a long moment, as if weighing the gravity of her words. "You must learn the history of this house, Miss Hawthorne. The curse is tied to the bloodline, and there are secrets hidden within these walls that must be uncovered to break it. Seek the journal of Lady Emmeline Greywood. It contains the key to understanding what binds this place. Break. Chapter 5, The Search. With Agnes's words echoing in her mind, Clara embarked on a quest to uncover the truth. She spent her days scouring the library, poring over stacks of ancient texts and brittle documents. The stories of the Greywoods were woven into the fabric of the estate, of tragic love, betrayal, and the desperate measures taken to protect their lineage. As she delved deeper, Clara learned of Lady Emmeline, the family matriarch who had been said to have communed with spirits, crafting rituals to ward off dark forces. Yet in her desperation, she had made a grave mistake, a bargain with an entity far more sinister than she could have anticipated. Clara's search bore fruit when she stumbled upon a hidden compartment within a dusty armoire, revealing an exquisite leather-bound journal. The pages were filled with Emmeline's elegant script, detailing her encounters with the supernatural and the growing darkness that threatened her family. As Clara read, she felt the air grow thicker, tinged with the presence of unseen eyes lurking just beyond her reach. "The price of protection is steep," Emmeline had written. "I fear that my bloodline shall bear the weight of my decisions, for what I offer cannot be taken lightly. The spirits demand balance. They will not be silenced forever." The words sent a chill through Clara's spine. She could feel the weight of the Greywood legacy pressing upon her, as if the very walls were whispering the secrets of their past. With renewed determination, Clara sought Agnes to discuss their findings, her heart racing with the urgency of their mission. As she approached her quarters, however, she was overcome by a sense of dread. The air was colder and the shadows pooled thicker around her. Agnes stood in the hallway, her expression grave. "They are angry, Clara. You must be careful. The spirits have awoken." "What can we do?" Clara asked, panic rising within her. "We must complete the rituals as Lady Emmeline intended, but we must also confront the darkness. It has been unleashed, and the twins—" Agnes's voice faltered, her fear palpable. "The twins," Clara gasped, her heart racing. "What about them?" "They are marked, Clara. The spirits have chosen them. We must act before it is too late. Our journey ends, yet echoes linger in the corridors of history. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep the candles burning."